Another day, another story. Federal Budget 2023, Winners and Losers Summary. The budget was announced by Federal Treasurer Jim Chalmers. 09/05/2023 7:30 p.m. EST, 7 p.m. ACST, 5:30 p.m. AWST. Australia's first annual budget under the Albanese government includes a cost of living package worth $14.6 billion over 4 years. This includes a lift in the job seeker rate, cheaper medicines, and energy rebates for low-income Australians. The budget also marks a surprising $4.2 billion surplus, the first in 15 years, despite the ongoing impact of the global economy on Australia. The budget contains $14.6 billion Australian dollars, $9.9 billion, in cost of living measures to help low and middle income earners cope with inflation that slowed to 7% in the year through March from a 7.8% peak in December. Here's a breakdown of the 2023 federal budget winners and losers. The winners. Low-income renters. The budget offers a specific benefit for renters through an increase in Commonwealth Rent Assistance, CRA, for eligible low-income Australians. If approved, the maximum CRA payment will rise by 15%, providing more financial support. For a single recipient receiving the maximum assistance, their fortnightly payment would increase from $157.20 to $180.80. Small businesses. The government introduces financial incentives for small business owners, including a temporary increase in the instant asset write-off threshold to $20,000 for a year. This allows businesses with an annual turnover under $10 million to immediately deduct the full cost of qualifying assets below $20,000. The threshold applies per asset, enabling small businesses to make multiple purchases and benefit from this measure. Not only that, small and medium-sized businesses will be encouraged to buy energy-efficient fridges, electric cooling systems, batteries, and other assets that support electrification and more efficient use of energy. Companies with a turnover of less than $50 million will be able to deduct an additional 20% of the cost of depreciating assets that are eligible under the Small Business Energy Incentive Measure. Small businesses also get energy bill relief as part of a scheme primarily directed at welfare recipients. Welfare recipients, but not all. From 20 September, base rates of support payments like job seeker, youth allowance, partnered parenting payment, and AuStudy will increase by $40 per fortnight. The government will spend $3 billion on direct bill relief to eligible households to address rising energy costs, and over 5 million households will receive up to $500 off their power bills next year. Single parents will now be able to claim the single parenting payment until their youngest child turns 14, instead of 8, providing 57,000 families with an extra $176.90 per fortnight. Doctors, aged care workers, and people needing health care. The government will invest $3.5 billion to triple the bulk billing incentive for GPs and establish 8 new Medicare urgent care clinics. There will be more funding for telehealth, digitization of records, and Medicare rebates for longer consultations. Aged care workers will receive a 15% pay increase. Politicians. The Australian government has allocated $159 million over the next 4 years and $40 million annually to increase resources for parliamentarians. This includes additional staff and a boosted travel expense allowance to help politicians meet the increased needs of their constituents. Veterans. The Australian government will allocate $64.1 million to improve services for veterans, reduce the backlog of claims, and increase support for complex case management, rehabilitation, pharmacy and health approvals. An additional $2 million will be used to continue the Department of Veterans Affairs mental health literacy and suicide intervention training program. The losers. Travelers, leaving Australia? Whether you're going on holiday or moving for good, you'll have to pay an extra $10, as the government increases the passenger movement charge from July 1, 2024 from $60 to $70 a passenger. Smokers. The tobacco excise will increase by 5% a year for 3 years from 1 September, as the government aims to encourage smokers to quit through this and other anti-smoking measures that will raise tax revenue by $3.3 billion. Middle-income renters. The Australian budget does not provide significant immediate relief for those in the rental market who are facing rising rents and do not qualify for low-income support payments. Incentives to increase the supply of build-to-rent schemes will not provide new supply to the market for several years. Tax dodgers. The government will continue to fund a crackdown on businesses not paying goods and service tax, GST. These compliance activities will cost just under $600 million over 4 years but could boost tax revenues by about $10 billion over the same period. Commuters and train lovers, despite an election pledge to prioritise a high-speed train along the east coast of Australia starting with a Sydney to Newcastle section, the budget contained no new funding for that rail track in the coming 3 financial years, nor for any other significant commuter rail projects around Australia. Scammers, the Australian government will establish a national anti-scam centre at a cost of $58 million to address the increase in online scams and fraud. The centre will share data and target specific scam issues. $17 million will be spent on identifying and taking down phishing websites and investment scams. Additionally, $10 million will be used for an SMS sender ID registry to prevent scammers from impersonating government and industry names.